What is good? The Super Bowl is here. We are here. Fancy Matt, how are we feeling?
What's going on?
I'm excited, a little depressed.
I'm excited, not depressed. Not yet.
Just
I don't know how to feel.
If the Eagles lose, you will not hear from me for 6 months
okay.
because there's no more football and the Eagles lost. So I'll have
Now I
reason-
really hope the Eagles lose.
Now I'm depressed. now I am excited and depressed.
Hey, one of our teams made it in the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, I mean,
congratulations.
all three of us made playoffs back-to-back years now.
Good.
Can't
Football.
really complain about that. There's going to be years where one of us aren't in. So we got to cherish these years as much as we can. But yeah, the Super Bowl's here. The last game of the season is here. So we got some fun facts for you guys before we dive into the only game. And then we have some fun, props and silly Super Bowl, bets and odds and stuff like that for you guys. So let's make it a fun one. Sports Center facts. Since 2019, the Bills have won 78 regular season and playoff games. It is the most ever in a 6-year span without a Super Bowl appearance. It's tough.
That's such a good stat, but also God,
Gut-wrenching. Yep.
Heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah. So and speaking of the Bills, we might as well talk about the loss, right? The Bills didn't do enough at the end. They're talking about the Bills with Josh Allen missing the screen on the left. He could have made a pass there for a first down, whatever. He also had 8 people running at him. It's a little bit harder to do. When
that was a hell of a rush.
Then there was a drop, on that same play. But there was 5 very, very huge plays that directly impacted the outcome of that Kansas City and Buffalo Bills game. One being the pass to Xavier Worthy absolutely hit the ground. It was a pass or an incomplete pass. I don't care what anybody says. There was no possession. One arm down, one arm up, and the football on the ground is an incomplete pass. It's ridiculous. The fact that was called a catch leading to a touchdown. Then Matt, I think you even texted in our group chat this delay of game at 2-minute warning. The Chiefs just get an extra 1 second there.
That
even
makes
though
no
every other
sense.
team had the announcers even said they had to call a timeout because the clock would have expired before the 2-minute warning. So they just were given an extra second instead of calling a timeout or
the fact that they literally talked about it and then we still see it.
So those are 2 huge things that you can't argue, whatever else. This one, it's football. I always say let the boys play. I don't really care. I'm completely unbiased when it comes to stuff like this one says, though, Kelsey taunting Hamlin. It was a taunt, but at the same time, I don't mind seeing that stuff. It doesn't really bother me. I taunted playing sports in my life. It's
well, and once they brought it back where they could celebrate in the end zone more, I'm kind of like, you're going to
it's more so he didn't score and he ran up to the dude's face.
No, I know, but I'm saying once they brought that back, it's they kind of opened up that Pandora's box.
And so that one to me on this list isn't really that important. Saying that that would be directly impacted is a little ridiculous. It's a little stretched out to me. But and then same thing with this, multiple holds on Kansas City's punt return. It's you can look back, there definitely was some holds, but it's holding hold it every play. You go holding every single play. So it's that, it's and then the other big one besides the Worthy one, the 4th down conversion where the ref said Allen got it and then just they didn't get it at the same time. It was kind of weird. But then we also saw I have some other ones after that, but we also saw on the last play of the game, the drop to Dalton Kincaid. It's there was a flag and then it just disappeared. It's it was almost
I still want to know
as if he catches this, it's PI on the offense or there's something on the offense and it's oh no you didn't catch it, let's pick it back up.
Did we get clarification? Because obviously we see the graphic on the screen, it says flag, but do they have a zoom in? Was there an actual flag?
Yeah.
That they have? Okay,
and they picked it up. They picked up and didn't say a word about it. So it's that's where I'm just man, that doesn't just happen every play. It's
but going back to the very first thing you said was there was a penalty on the play that they said Worthy caught. So catch or not, it still would have been a first down.
Right, but it also put them 25 yards ahead of it, which 25 yards in a game.
I'm just saying it still was a first down, and there's
nothing.
nothing
It absolutely
is.
Still
scored.
But it's still a direct thing where you go from on the 45 to the in the red zone. It's like that's
right.
a big thing we were talking about.
Chiefs on the move
Mahomes.
is Chiefs on the move. Like that's not to me. That doesn't like that was not a game changer.
But was it
like
a catch?
not like the no when I don't think it was a catch.
That's the basis of it. What I'm getting at though is like,
but even
it's just not a catch that no other team would have gotten.
I mean, but even if they didn't get it, it wouldn't matter. That's the point I'm saying. Just for the sake of argument, it's like all the bias against the Chiefs has gotten so old. Like that's all it's been on like my TikTok and my Instagram of how the Chiefs have been helped out. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like they're a good team.
No, and there's no argument. There's no argument that they're not. I don't feel like because obviously they're in the same spot. But it's like that right there is the exact argument that people are upset about. Is like the admission of like, oh yeah, no, it wasn't a catch, but it wouldn't have mattered. It's like, well, how many times are we going to do that until we stop giving? Like then don't give them the catch if it doesn't matter.
I mean, if
they don't need it, then why are you giving it to them? You know,
but then that's where it goes back to the whole thing. Like Pat McAfee's talked about for like 3 or 4 seasons, as far as the refs need to be a full-time position with off-season training, so they can get it where they, because this stuff's going to New York and still getting called back is confirmed. Yeah. Same with the 4th down that didn't get a first down. It's like that wasn't an on-the-spot thing that never changed, and that's I definitely agree that sure maybe that went into the Chiefs' favor 2 times that were pretty big, but it's like this stuff is going all the way up to.
But even the 2-minute warning, though, the 2-minute warning plays a huge factor into it because it is a penalty that sets them back and then also gives the Bills extra
with the
time.
2-minute warning. I see so much of that league-wise where they get a chance, they look at the ball, they look at the clock, and then they look back, and it's like. I see some of it where it's like they call it right away, and then some of them they don't. And I mean, once again, I've seen it in the Chiefs' favor, but I've also seen it all season long. Just one team got it because of the timing. It's just
but this one was the play clock. To me, there was a clear discrepancy.
They were describing it.
No, I understand.
Like, the Chiefs have to either run a play.
I was watching it. No, I understand, and it's just like
you know what I mean. So that's just where I'm saying is like.
Yeah,
it is exhausting. Like hearing it, and there are people that do to the extreme. Like I said, like the Kelsey taunting, like the holding. It's like that stuff is football, right?
And there's Chiefs fans out there that don't. They're
right,
like,
and
whatever,
that's what I'm
we're better.
As even a fan of Kansas City, you still have to acknowledge those things,
right?
Just like,
and those guys won't.
On the 8-game win streak for the playoffs, Mahomes has one of the most penalties for roughing the passer and whatever else in those 8 games and the quarterbacks he faced, and the Chiefs are also the least penalized. It's like not just always discipline, because like we talk about, it's about like the ref crew too. Like, Vance, you have your least favorite one, and the one you like. It's like just because you're disciplined does not mean your team just doesn't take penalties. It's like that's not just how it works, because there's penalty on every single play, like we talked about. So
yeah, absolutely.
So for me, I'll just get this out there right now before I move on to the next one. It's like one of those things where all I'm saying is like just don't have the Super Bowl end the way it did with the Eagles Chiefs last time, of like a bullshit pass interference. It's like even Peyton Manning's still upset about that one. It's just like just let them play. Like if the Chiefs score a touchdown right there and they beat us, it's like you can just go home and be like, hey, they beat us. They were the better team that showed up on Sunday. Not like fuck. You know what I mean? It's like teams are going into these Kansas City games knowing they're playing against something else other than just a football team, and that's where it's like. Even though you're tired of hearing it, it's like it should be addressed. It's like it is getting out of hand a little bit. But a fun thing I thought it was pretty cool with the Eagles this season with 2 weeks ago because of Pro Bowl, which yay for Pro Bowl, by the way. Lots of fun. The Eagles had the most rushing yards in a season in NFL history. That includes the postseason before they even played the Super Bowl game. So it's pretty cool that they've already broken a record without even playing like that extra Super Bowl game. 3,731 rushing yards.
Well, do you have the previous stat? What they?
I don't have the previous one. No, unfortunately. Like I don't know what it was.
I would imagine they probably blew it out of the water.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a chance, like they said, that there's a chance the Eagles could possibly, depending on how well Barkley plays, but put up 4K rushing yards in a season, which would be kind of crazy. Also, the Eagles set a record of the most points scored in a conference championship game in NFL history. They're the only team in NFL history to put up 55 points. The previous record was the 90-91 Bills. They put up 51. And then it was the 16 Panthers putting up 49, the Dolphins in 85 putting up 45, and the Patriots in 15 putting up 45. So pretty cool that the Patriots got to
hopefully you didn't break the Bills record to have the Bills outcome.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Jesus.
Speaking of that, though, I have a stat lined up right there for you. The Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback since that Bills quarterback. Can you name the quarterback, Fancy? That the Bills lost like 3 straight Super Bowls with? Or Matt? You guys know him.
Chip Kelly or something like that?
Jim Kelly, yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly,
Yep, Jim Kelly. So Hurts is the only quarterback since then, since the 91,
Like
90 to
whatever.
94.
Yeah, around that area. The only quarterback that has lost their Super Bowl debut and made it back since 92, 93.
I've never thought about quarterbacks that have lost and
Yep, Brock Purdy. I actually have the list there. That's where I was going to say I can actually tell you guys the list if you guys want it.
Yeah, give us a
some
few.
of them you'll know, some of them you'll be like, who the fuck? Brock Purdy, as of recent, Joe Burrow,
Okay.
Jimmy Garoppolo, Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, Rex Grossman, shout out the Bears, Matt Hasselbeck, Donovan McNabb, Jake Dolholm, Rich Gannon, Kerry Collins, Steve McNair, Chris that's where it starts getting out of Chris Chandler, Drew Bledsoe, Neil O'Donnell, and Stan Humphries. And then 1990 was Jim Kelly's technically debut in the Super Bowl that he made it back.
Gotcha.
So since 1990, Hurts is the first quarterback to make it back. So that's pretty cool.
Now names on that list, not to divert right quick, but it's like depending on what the Niners do, I could still see Brock Purdy getting back there somehow.
Yeah.
And same with Goff. I could see him. I'm like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, on that list, I look through and I'm like, those were the two that I saw that I'm like, yeah, they could probably make it back. And Joe could probably.
Yeah, Joe Burrow for sure.
And Joe. But obviously, like the rest of them between, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, it's like, yeah, GG's. So literally since 2016, Jalen Hurts, that was his first freshman year of college. Since college, he's played with 11 different offensive coordinators in 8 years. That's kind of crazy. It was just a fun stat that I saw on there of even with his pro tenure, he's been with 4 or 5 different offensive coordinators, and since 2020 he had Doug Peterson and then Nick Sirianni in 2021, then Shane Steichen in 21-22, last year Brian Johnson, this year Kellen Moore. It's like every year has been a different thing. So to have the success that he's had has been pretty cool with different no consistency. And on that topic, I don't know if we will see consistency in terms of guys like Josh McDaniels with Tom Brady sticking with them for all those Super Bowl years. I don't think you'll see that anymore because the minute they win a Super Bowl, they immediately go take a head coaching job because it's never going to happen again, So I think just like Ben Johnson, it's like that window's gone, he's gone. You know what I mean? You'll never see those long tenured offensive coordinators no more.
We're in a league where if you have success in that position, for better or for worse, you're going to take that leap, because you're going to bet on yourself.
Because you can always go back to offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
you can always go back.
The problem is we've seen it over these last couple of years. We've seen it not work out.
Yep.
And then you're scrambling back, which that next team that accepts them again as a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator is lucky to have that because now they have that head coaching viewpoint. They tried it. They failed, but they tried. And now they're coming back. I think it makes them even stronger candidate as that coordinator.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think in the most recent years, maybe it's because it's the one that comes to mind the most. I think the smartest one was Ben Johnson with the Bears because he went to a loaded team that he can have success with. If the team doesn't have success, it's something to do with the team or the front office. It's like there's a lot of pieces for him to have success there. Just talent-wise, we've talked about the raw talent that offense actually has. So it's not like he's going to the Raiders or like Aaron Glenn going to the Jets. It's like I just think it's a setup failure. It's like you just got a defensive coordinator as a head coach on a failing offense. It's like it's not going to help things out.
It's going to be interesting if he's going to be the play calling head coach. Right. I assume he is.
He probably defensive coordinator. Yeah, like the defensive play caller. And then the last one, kind of 2-1. The Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes gets a roughing the passer call once every 15 times that he gets hit in the game. It is the highest number of any quarterback. And to add on top of that, going into this week, Jalen Hurts hasn't gotten a roughing the passer call since 2021.
So when you say something like, I mean, I get it. We know the disparagement between those types of stats. I want to know, because I know you talk about the Eagles defense Like, what's their, their pressure rate is got to be so much more than any average team. So if you're looking at 1 out of 15, I feel like their pressure rate is even higher. So are we going to have more opportunity?
That's what they were saying is you're going to get to see a lot of roughing the passers.
Are we going to have even more opportunity for roughing the passer?
And I saw it was one of those things in practice that they're working on. They're working on like making sure it's a clean hit, no weight on no weight on contact. It's like make it a hit that the refs cannot call at all. Like, and if it does, it's like it'll be all over social media and they'll be blasting the refs in the NFL. You know what I mean? It's like that's all you can do. It's like just don't be the guy that like puts all your weight on them and then be like, well, that was a roughing the passer. So yeah, you did do it. You know what I mean? So that's why. And there's a lot of young guys. So it's like I am a little nervous of like you get a little antsy. You know what I mean? You're 23,
that adrenaline,
25. It's like
adrenaline's
knock his
going
motherfucker on his ass. Like let them know that we're here. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, that's a roughing the passer. It's like, and I'll say it, it's like, no, that was roughing the passer. You know what I mean? Like I'll admit it when it's there. It's
and
like,
the thing is like if it's something that's clear to everyone that's a roughing the passer call, if you really believe that the Chiefs are helped by the refs, then you're probably gonna look at a targeting call on top of it. Because it's like take whatever the hit is plus 1.
Yeah.
So if it's a right clean hit, it's roughing the passer. If it's roughing the passer for sure, then and then if it's obviously targeting, then it's obviously an ejection. Yeah. So it's like you could really, really screw your team. I mean, just really fast by doing absolutely. That. So that's
I just
one of
hope
those
they
things.
Stay, as a young team, it's like when you look through this, we have the youngest defense, in or the second youngest defense, I think, in the NFL. So it's like when you're looking at that, it's like that's what makes me as strong as they've been. At the same time, it's like you got to stay disciplined with it too, because you can't get too crazy. Because it's like that's the Chiefs' memo is like, okay, go ahead and hit me. You know what I mean? Let's see how disciplined you are. It's like,
yeah,
take your free shot and let's see if it's legit or not. And sometimes look, it might be legit and then you might still call it, but it's like that's more so of like just do your part to say, hey, it was a clean hit, and that's all you can do. You know what I mean? That's all you can do. So like I said before we dive into our picks, all I'm hoping for is a good game. I even said it. If the Eagles lose because we got beat, I you know what I mean? I can't be upset. You know what I mean?
Right. We just don't want the storyline
to dwindle down to like that was a bunch of bullshit. I can't believe that just that just happened. You know what I mean? Like, and as long as it's not that, it's like I'm cool with it. I'm totally cool.
Yeah. But the problem is that is the storyline that's out there already. We've already talked about it twice, today. We're looking for the opportunity. So please, refs, don't give us what we're all like expecting to happen, type of thing.
And most of the time, like those things out of the 5 or 6 things that the Bills had, there were only like 2 that I genuinely agreed with, and it was the catch and the running the clock down. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like those things you just can't really argue of like those should have been the other way around. And like we talk about all the time, like that Lions game, I think it was against the Rams or whoever it was against, like that safety, that was a safety. It's like, well, but then give them 2 points. It's like, that it's a whole different game if that's called this. You know what I mean? It's a whole different thing when that's not called. Or
yeah,
called.
We
like,
just
there's momentum swingers. You know, and so it's like
we just don't want it to be so egregious. Like and I should be able to remember this. I don't want it to be that memorable to where it was the Saints.
Oh my God, Saints Rams. That's what kept Drew Brees from the Super Bowl.
Yes,
down the sideline when he got smoked.
I just don't want it to be something that was crazy,
bad.
Right?
That was so bad, dude. I remember that because I remember Drew Brees like lighting it up in a press crowd, like afterwards, the post game, where he was just like pissed. So yeah, and I will say I have our records here. Our records in playoffs are nothing to brag about here, boys.
We were doing so good towards the end of the regular season.
Only one of us can end up above 500, and if that person does not end up above 500, none of us will.
It's got to be you, right?
Fancy 5-7. Fancy has Kansas City winning 38-31. Everyone can say fuck you to Fancy. No, no, it's all love. He's got Kansas City, which I'll let you dive into it, but he's got Kansas City scoring the most points they've ever scored this season. They've never went above 30 against the number 1 defense. So hey, if we're gonna lose, I'd love to lose at least that way of like at least we saw some touchdowns. You know what I mean? Matt, you are 4-8. You were taking Philly winning 29-24. I am 6-6. With Philly winning 35-21. I've been beating the Chiefs by 14. Wow. I think, yeah. I'll just dive into it right now because it's more so one of those. It's weird. It's one of those episodes where I more so would rather you guys talk and listen to you and chip in because I don't want to be sitting here talking about my team. So with me saying 35-21, I see it being a close game. I see it being 21-17 or 21-21, I meant to say. And then all of a sudden it's a interception or a fumble, touchdown, punt, and then Barkley goes on one of his huge runs, and then it's a 2-score game,
to
and
end the
then they got to
game.
get back into it. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where Barkley has a huge breakout, 50+, 60+ yarder, and it's like that's the momentum right there. Like the whole stadium, you know what I mean? It's the energy sucked out of it, and that's what I have going into it is 35-21. And I can just hope for the best. That's so that's what I got.
Matt, go ahead.
All right, so I'm sticking with the Eagles as well.
Which, by the way, does not come from me with your 4-8 picks here. During the season, I would appreciate it, but now it's like I do appreciate. It's like the moral support. I do appreciate you siding with me, but at the same time, I'm looking at it, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be kind of like you kind of walked us through how you see it ending. So I've got 29-24. When I'm kind of playing it out in my head, the one factor you talked about, Kansas City not breaking that 30 mark. It's kind of what I had in my head. So I've got it, a bunch of field goals. I see Elliott missing a extra point. And then the way I kind of walked it out was Kansas City kicks that field goal towards the end, and it's a so what does that put us at? Oh no, sorry. This is how I'm trying to think of it. Eagles go up, and they go up obviously more than that 3. So I've got Kansas City driving at the end of the game, but instead of them like normal fashion, they drive down, win the game with it because they have to score a touchdown. They're down 5. I have interception, Eagles defense to solidify the game. That's how I see the walk-off happening. Instead of Kansas City driving
down.
Last
time we won the Super Bowl when we took out Tom Brady with the strip sack.
Yep.
That's how they ended the game. Strip sack, and then they burnt out the time.
That's how I see it. I see us basically being kind of conditioned that if Kansas City gets the ball, skill set and refs both combined to them driving down, we know they're going to score that last touchdown to win the game. And I think that's where it kind of pivots, and it's the Eagles defense.
So it's going to be interception, called back on a penalty.
No,
all placed in the 1-yard line.
No, this one's gonna stand. So I think that's the turning point. Is the Eagles do come away with the ball at the end instead of the Chiefs driving down and winning it.
Yeah, let's hope you're right, Mr. 4-8. It's been a weird playoffs. I will say that.
Yeah. When I look at this, I mean, one, like I've said all year long, they're back-to-back champions for a reason. I mean, they're well coached. They have great players. They don't have as many great players, I think, as the Eagles, but this is not Patrick Mahomes' biggest game. This is not his second biggest game. It's not his third biggest game. And I'm not the one that came up with that, but it's a good point. And the people keep bringing up like they haven't scored more than 30 points until last week against the Bills. Or 2 weeks ago, sorry. And it's not show-off football. It's not Dan Campbell football of let me pass it to this lineman and get in the end zone. Let me try this 2-point conversion, and let me try this 4th down conversion, and let me try this onside kick, and let me show the entire league everything I can do. I respect Andy Reid as probably the best head coach in the league currently. And he plays his cards close to his chest, and so he has done just enough to get where he's at. And there's a whole 3 or 4 sheets of that IHOP menu that we ain't seen yet. And that's why when between the bias that the Chiefs apparently get and zero pressure, there's still a lot of life left between Reed and Mahomes to keep playing more football. So it's not like I got to get this before I retire kind of thing. And then, they have who knows what up their sleeve because we haven't seen it. We've seen just enough football and some luck, between like missed kicks and, it's
refs.
Yeah, maybe the refs.
He wanted Matt. You saw that, right? He wanted to say it. He was like,
you tried to push it out of him.
Maybe maybe the refs, maybe not. But it's with a little bit of help potentially, along with. I mean, They don't ever give you any more than they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And that's where I see with Kansas City is just it's like who knows what we will see, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like I went 38-31 because if there's a game that we're going to see some shit that they can absolutely do, and you're like, oh, you know, like here's those 3 running backs, you know, between Hunt and Worthy and Pacheco. It's like, oh, okay, wow, like, yep, they all figured out a way to maybe not get in the end zone, but that what secured it against the Bills was, you know, Samaje Perine wide open to the left. He had acres, and it's like, well, you know, that's McDermott.
Fancy, we got oddly specific. When you have 38-31, do you see them driving down and scoring that last touchdown, or do you see them stopping the Eagles from tying up the game at the end?
No, I think Mahomes gets it in there.
So
I don't think he has far to go. Like
do you see it 31? I guess that's what I'm asking. Do you see it 31-31?
It's a 31-31 tie. Eagles with a chance and a turnover with a heavy rush, not like a turnover, not a fumble. I'm turnover on downs or something.
And then Kansas City goes down and wins the game.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean,
because like obviously I've been looking into like, you know, the strongs of obviously the books are favoring the Chiefs, right? So it's like I'm looking into those things, and like everything Fancy said is true. Is like that's Kansas City football right there. Is like that's kind of like when we talked about the stat of 30 points. That's kind of what we emphasized is like they don't have to, like,
right?
So it's like, yeah, the Lions look fancy, they look great, it looks fun, it looks this, it's fun to watch, all the stuff. It's like where
it's
they
cool
at?
Scoring 50. Yeah, it's cool scoring 50 points, but not.
And so that's been their identity. But at the same time, my mindset of that is like, I don't care how good you are. 17 games in, and then the playoffs, whatever else. It's hard to just turn that on. Like it's hard to just like now is game time. Now we're gonna go shootout mode. Now we're gonna, you know, it's like you almost, for me personally, it's like I would want to see that stuff, even if it's just a little sprinkle here and there of like, okay, we can do this. You know what I mean? I don't think they're talented enough offensively to do those things like they used to with Hill and Kelsey Younger and, you know, all those guys, especially against the number 1 defense. So that's for me. I'm just like, I mean, that you're absolutely right in all those things. In my personal opinion, I just see it as like, you should have tested those cards out a little bit more than on the big stage. You know what I mean? Because I just, you know, Hopkins is 33, 34 years old. It's like you got a 23-year-old rookie of the year candidate covering him. It's like, good luck. You know what I mean? Like, let's see how, you know, and same thing with Kelsey. It's like he's looking slow. It's like we have the best linebacker in the league covering him. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like it's time to shake things up. And if there's gonna be a quarterback and a head coach that can do it, it's definitely Mahomes and Andy Reid. But we saw them lose to the Bucks, and it was because of that talent level. They did not have enough talent to beat them. You know what I mean? I just see a very similar situation in my opinion. I think it's like if the Chiefs can't put up 30, I think the Eagles do. Like, and I think if the Eagles don't, I think it's going to be them draining the clock. And fans are going to be pissed because they want to see a shootout, and it's going to be the Eagles like burning like 14 minutes of a drive, like just wearing the clock out.
You know what?
Like
What I didn't think about, you know how we have obviously Super Bowl commercials are, you know, the hit. If Eagles are just driving for minutes and minutes on end, are we going to miss out on some Super Bowl commercials? Because we're not going to have an opportunity for a
they'll
break.
get theirs in. There'll be a TV timeout or something like that. You
there'll be a penalty. They'll stop the drive.
I was gonna say, are they gonna stop him? They're gonna stop him in the middle of drive and say,
"No,
sorry, we
review
gotta pay
this
the
play
bills
real quick.
We gotta pay the bills."
We're gonna review this play. This play review is sponsored by M&M's.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly right.
It's like we got to get this in because they paid for it. You know what I mean? It's like that is interesting. But yeah, those are our takes. So Fancy Chiefs, me and Matt Eagles. We have 4 fun ones though. Gatorade color, touchdown score, heads or tails, and then a long shot touchdown score. A guy that, you know, is way down the list on the odds. Might not score a touchdown, but if you're looking to put $5 on something and maybe turn it into 50 or some shit, little scratch off ticket, you know what I mean? We each got one for you. So Gatorade color. I went yellow green plus 250. Fancy.
I got purple for plus 175.
All right, and then I've got clear or water at 850. It's the long shot.
They do Busch Light.
Hey, this is a callback. This is a callback. If you guys have been watching since last season, episode 15, this was my trivia question for you guys. And so that's why I love Fancy's pick, because he kind of learned from that trivia question, and that's what he's going with purple this year.
Yeah.
Didn't one of us guess it right last year? I think one of us did. We have to look back on that. I think one of us definitely did guess it right last year. I don't know who it was, but one of us did. Touchdown scores. We'll go Matt and then up. So go ahead.
All right, my anytime touchdown, I've got Hurts. You know he's going to get a tush push in there, and he's going to get it.
Last time these teams met in the Super Bowl. So, Fancy?
I got Worthy for plus 150.
And I got Devontae Smith plus 230. He's led up Kansas City each time he's played them, so I think he's gonna have a good game. I really do. Obviously, Barkley's probably real safe pick for a lot of people, but I don't think many people want to take minus 200. But Devontae Smith is plus 230. So I'm sure what? Yeah, Jalen Hurts is like plus or minus 110.
He's 110. Yeah. So it's
around there.
Yep.
And then heads or tails, all of them are minus 105 because there's only two options. If you guys didn't know, coins only have two sides. Fancy just found that out in pre-production. He's used to licking the pennies, not flipping them. I took tails, minus 105. Fancy?
I got heads.
You got head?
Oh, yeah. That's the plan.
Oh, yeah.
Tails never fails. So I'm
tails never fails. That's right.
What I thought about this when we're looking at heads or tails, is it must be the NCAA that has it, like a commemorative coin where it's like one team on one side, one team on the other. So it's not a heads and tails, right?
It's like a home away or whatever.
It's just whoever's face up gets the pick.
Yeah, so this they must probably have to keep.
That would be cool
for this prop bet.
That would be cool, because then it's almost like a piece of NFL history too. Because it's like, okay, here's the coin toss. None of you guys get to decide. Your side is this, your side is this. You flip it, and it's like you get to pick. It's like, and then that coin can then go into Canton, Ohio, and like kind of be like a display of like, the Chiefs won this coin toss in 2025 versus the Eagles in the Super Bowl. It'd be kind of cool. Like, I don't know, in New Orleans, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool.
Let's propose that idea to the NFL.
I do think it is kind of custom.
It's
just not team to team. I think it's the shield, and then the other side.
It's the NFL shield, and then I think it's gonna be New Orleans. Like it'll be.
Yeah. It's like the home. Yeah. The field. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. But it's a head
Mercedes Benz.
Right.
But it's a heads or a tails still.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's the Caesars. Mercedes Benz is Atlanta.
Now, isn't it?
Okay, but wasn't New Orleans Mercedes Benz when Drew Brees was there or no?
I don't know.
I think so.
They just switched. And then long shot touchdown. Matt, we'll start with you because I think you actually have the longest. I think it goes longest short.
Yeah,
take that however you want to view
it. I'm real deep. I'm real deep with it. I went Grant Calcaterra plus 1,500.
You spelled out last name.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I went with my boy from OU, Samaje Perine at plus 900.
Nice. I won the TikTok superstar Juju plus 500. Like I was saying in pre-production, it's just one of those weird ones where somehow, some way, I don't know why or how, but he'll just end up open field, and it'll be like a TikTok dance all over, and we all get to witness it. And then we'll look at a Hershey's commercial right after that. So, but yeah, those are our fun little ones. You guys can, if you guys want to play along, and just comment down below what you guys have for all those four. Lock it in before the game starts. But that is all that we got for you guys this episode. But yeah, this was technically going to be our last. I'm not going to say last episode of the year, because obviously we'll have football back up in September, that August time zone or
of
time
the season
frame. But the last episode of the season, we will not do a Super Bowl recap like we did last year. We're going to call it, give ourselves a little break, a little pat on the back. We've grown quite a bit. We appreciate you guys tuning in, especially the people that have tuned in every single episode. You guys are the goats. Definitely will be nice to take a break and relax a little bit, but at the same time, I think in a few weeks we'll be itching to like, talk football and want football on. We were just talking about how, we'll beg for a Raiders Browns Thursday night football here in about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But until then, we appreciate you guys. Hopefully next year just continues to, have us grow and become bigger and do fun stuff. We made a lot of changes this year. I mean, with the graphics, the background, the slates, the way we do things, the way the scripts are written up for us to go through the games, and so it's been fun. So if you guys have, maybe anything you guys like, that you want to see again next year, or maybe something that we didn't do this year that you think we would do a really good job of for next year, let us know down in the comments. But that's all I got. You guys got anything?
No, man, it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's been fun. So look forward to, kind of like what you're saying. Like if there's ideas you guys have,
Yep.
Definitely open to, obviously that's our job here, right? Is we get to talk football, but we want to do some interesting stuff too. So feel free to give us ideas.
Absolutely. So the next time you guys will see us will probably be right around that area of time where free agency starts going crazy and you start seeing guys land all over the place. T. Higgins, coaching jobs,
Max
drafts.
Crosby, Myles Garrett coming to Green Bay.
Yep. Stuff like that. Obviously that week that we all know there's that 1 week. I don't know when it is. I don't even know what month it is, but all of a sudden it's like your phone starts blowing up and it's like boom, boom, boom. And you're like, holy fuck, football's here. Like that's when you'll see us again. But until then, we appreciate you guys and we will see you guys in a few months. Later.
See ya.